Good morning.
Sir, hearty welcome. Natarajan, Principal of Jeppiaar Engineering College. Welcome, sir.
Morning. Thank you
Good
so
morning.
much.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Sure. A very good morning to everyone present here. To begin this webinar orderly, let us first invoke the presence of the Almighty God and invocation to our Mother Tamil by Tamil Thai.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டனிது எக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறமுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திரக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற இசையும் உடல் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீர்விழமை திறந்தியந்து செயமரந்து வாழ்த்துதமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதமே.
Thank you, sir. Innovation, the unrelenting drive to break status quo and develop new, which drives the productivity, whereas productivity drives the economic growth. Invoking the presence of God and with the blessings of our late Colonel Dr. Jeppiaar, Dr. M. Regina Jeppiaar, the Chairman and Managing Director of Jeppiaar Group of Institutions, or Honorable Principal Dr. V. Natarajan, Dean of Academics Dr. Shalisha A. Stanley, or Honorable Speaker Mr. Uray Mankawara, CEO of Atto Incubation Center, respected heads of all departments, faculty members, students, and all participants, I would like to welcome you all for this Jeppiaar College Talk Series webinar on importance of innovation and entrepreneurship during challenge times. A language beyond words, expressing that for which we have no words. Of course, it's dance. So now let's have a welcome dance.
The sounds of the streets.
Fire,
क्यों लम्हे खराब करे, गलती बेहिसाब करे, दो पल की जो नींद उड़ी पूरे सारे ख्वाब करे। क्या करने हैं उम्रों के वादे, ये जो रहते हैं रहने दे आने। दो बार नहीं एक बार सही, एक रात की कर ले तू यारी।
Thank you, James. Now, I welcome our principal, Dr. V. Natarajan, to propose the inaugural address.
Very happy and chill morning wishes to everyone connected here. With the blessings of Honorable Late Colonel Dr. Jeppiaar sir, founder Jeppiaar Educational Trust, under the dynamic guidance of Dr. M. Regina Jeppiaar, Chairman and Managing Director, Jeppiaar Group of Institutions, with the support of Dr. Shelisha A. Stanley, Dean Academics, and on behalf of Jeppiaar Engineering College, I respectfully welcome today's speaker, Mr. Uday Vankavala, CEO, Atal Incubation Center, Rambu Mahili, Prabodhini, Mumbai. I cordially welcome you, sir. I respectfully welcome, cheerfully also, the heads of various departments, my dear faculty members, and beloved students. Today, definitely we all are getting benefited through attending this today's webinar, especially institutions, innovation cell members of Jeppiaar Engineering College, as well as Jeppiaar Innovation Club members. Let's focus your mind to learn and gain from today's powerful talk from our guest speaker. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I'm glad in introducing the speaker of the day, Mr. Uday Vankavala, Chief Executive Officer at the Incubation Center, Rambu Prabodhini. He has been active in the Indian startup ecosystem as a collaborator, facilitator, and motivator since 2010. He's involved in envisioning, planning, and providing overall leadership to AICRMP with an objective of nurturing and supporting new age entrepreneurs for New India. His endeavor is to pioneer the huge entrepreneurial potential among the youth and actively contribute in setting up a robust startup ecosystem driven by innovation and technology. He has traveled all over India, addressing over 50,000 students on entrepreneurship, covering 300 plus academic campuses, including IITers, IIMers, and NITers. In his last stint, he had worked with the Society of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Incubator at IIT Bombay, handling the outreach, partnership, and special projects, including the National Entrepreneurship Award Scheme, instituted by Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. He is advisory committee member of Smart India Hackathon by NIC and AICTE. He is also an evaluator for IICDZ, powered by AICTE Mission, BST and Texas Instruments. He holds a postgraduate degree in management from the University of Mumbai. He is a certified instructional designer and has successfully completed entrepreneurship educators course offered by Indian Startup Technology Ventures program. He loves traveling and exploring new places and local cultures. Hence now, I welcome our honorable speaker of the day, Mr. Devan Kavada, Chief Executive Officer at Atal Incubation Center, to take over the session on the further importance of innovation and entrepreneurship during the challenge times. Welcome you, sir.
Welcome. Thank you so much, everyone. Dr. Natarajan, really appreciate your opening remarks. Thank you so much, Dean, for joining in. Thank you, Professor Binu, for inviting me. It's been really amazing in a way that your Innovation Council and the students would have taken up. I know these are challenging times for everyone. It's very difficult times in a way that the passionate faculty members, the passionate stakeholders that love to interact with the students community, the parents community through one to one. Now we have to sit behind the screen and then counsel students and then take up certain things that we would have never thought of. Because I believe that education is something which is more on a one-to-one basis. That's one part of it. This requires more of a human touch in a way that not everything can be taken up online. But these are challenging times, and this is what we have adapted to at this particular moment, and that's what innovation and entrepreneurship is all about. In my journey, what I've seen is what really works is flexibility, the adaptability. You cannot say that I won't do a certain thing. I think these are testing times, and this is what we all have learned. The faculty who would have taught in the classroom for more than 30 years, 35 years, I know now they are using technology to the core and making the maximum use of it. And that's what I believe is all about entrepreneurial spirit. So let me first start by saying that these are challenging times, but nonetheless, this too shall pass, as everyone says. But very important, what is it that we can learn from these times? That's important for everyone, including different stakeholders that we have in our campuses. That's important for us to know. I'm going to share my learnings, my experiences with all of you. That's my objective out here. But beyond that as well, I would love, if at all, after this session, if we could get some interesting projects, if you could get some innovative projects, not from the students, mind you, it could be from the faculty as well, or it could be from the parents helping students, or making their children realize that innovation or entrepreneurship could be one of the career option. I think this is what we have been lacking in the ecosystem, in a way that students they want to do certain things, but they don't know exactly, I mean, what all things that they would be able to get in from the ecosystem. And that's where I believe that this particular session would help you to understand that how you can have your mindset being driven more towards innovation and entrepreneurship, and in whatever small activities that we do in our daily life, if you would see, it leads to innovation, it leads to a bit of a entrepreneurial spirit. But what is being lacking is the mindset. I think if at all, if we can really work on the mindset, I think that's the first step to entrepreneurship, and that is what I'm going to share with everyone. And these are nothing but small tools or small things that I've learned through my journey of interacting with more than thousands of entrepreneurs, interacting with more than 500 plus campuses all across India. And I believe this is the right time for India to take up a lot of innovation. I'm sure you would know that there are three or four top innovative countries in the world. That includes Israel, that includes Japan, that includes the US, and very small countries as well taking this up. The first principle, or rather the first core of entrepreneurship or innovation. So mainly I would love to start off with innovative ideas. I would love to start off with innovation. What is it? Because there are a lot of myths around innovation, right? I mean, when people say innovation, hey, I don't have any innovative mindset, or they would say that I would not like to get into a sort of entrepreneurship. But let me tell you, each and every one has been brought up or has been sort of trained in the Indian ecosystem, or our ethos says that we are adaptable, we are flexible to a lot of things, and that is what we drive towards innovation. Because the innovation, the very first step to innovation is identifying problems. And look at it. At this particular moment, we have so many problems in hand, and in those problems, if you find opportunities and if you find solutions within those opportunities, that's where you would come up with innovative products or innovative services, and that's what it triggers. And I believe that a lot of students out there would find a lot of challenges in and around at this particular moment. There are different industries, I'm sure, that has been really wiped out in this pandemic. But there would be new industries, there would be new technologies that would come in and would substitute those things. And that is what we really need to look out at. And that's what I always say, that it's all about finding the right opportunities. It's all about finding, keeping your ears and eyes open. And that is what you really need to understand within this ecosystem. Before I start off, I would love to share an audio visual. I'm sure you would love to go through some of the inputs given in the audio visual as well. The reason being, this is where this particular video was very instrumental in my journey towards the ecosystem. And when I really look at this video, every time when I play this, this really gives me the crux of what innovation is all about. So, with your permission, I would love to share my screen, and then maybe it's a 3-minute video, and I'm sure you would love to go through this in a much more engaging way. So that's what I would love to play. I hope so you can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the audio is kind of, it's audible, right? I'll just play. Can you listen to the, I mean, can you listen to the audio? Hang on. Is it audible now? Okay, one second. Let me just. But you don't really need to have the audio much. I think that should be perfectly fine. You can see the video, right? And I think you should see it. Yeah. Just a I'm sure you would have seen the video, right? I mean, the video was pretty sort of clear. Everyone? Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that it was kind of, I mean, it was almost a sort of the whole idea out here, again, what the video really talked about was mainly around, so there is a school in a rural part of Maharashtra. And the students out there sort of they don't have the basic facilities over there. Simply out here, if you would see, there are a lot of schools in the rural parts of India. uh, they lack infrastructure, they lack facilities. And if you would see the students coming out of that particular schools, we have those great examples as well. I mean, we have heard about the head of Google, Microsoft, I mean, doing their schooling from India. And then I know the kind of places that they come in from, the infrastructure. I mean, they go through the worst kind of conditions, that all the challenging times. But what really motivates them is to do better. And it's not about the facilities, it's mainly about the mindset. I mean, that's what this particular video talks about. And this was shot in almost 2012-13, when HUL conducted, Hindustan Unilever conducted a project. And they said that students don't have even a place to sit and study. What they really have is they don't have even desk. They sit on the floor, and what really happens through that is their body posture gets affected. And if at all, if you would see, I mean, that's the real problem, the challenge that's been there, that you don't have basic facilities. We have seen a lot of colleges not having even computer facilities or infrastructure. How do they learn from it? They find out ways, and that is where HUL did a project called as Aram, and they came up with great innovative idea. And what they really made was a kind of a help desk, a desk rather, and that really helped the students. That's the reason I said help desk. It was more like from the wastage, from cartons, they really created the desk for less than 20 cents, for almost 10 rupees. What you could see at the end of the day was a smile on the faces of those children. I think this is what we really need to now go back to, and then see exactly where we could really work around. And these are all about, I mean, it's not about kind of when you have the list of resources, mind you, I mean, this is the mantra or the key that I would love to give everyone. When you have the list of resources, that's where innovation comes in. It's not about if you have everything. I'm sure what would really happen is you would have a lot of ways around. You would you would create best of the products. But if at all, if you don't have a team around you, if you don't have money with you, if you don't have capital, if you don't have the facilities around you, and from there, if at all, if you can create something, I think that's the best of innovations, and that's what everyone really need to look at it. This is the main crux of innovation, and this is where this particular video. Sorry, I couldn't. Rather, we couldn't really share because of the technological issues. But then the entire video really talks about that. That if at all, if you can create a product that is innovative, that is affordable, that is kind of helpful to the students, this is what you really need to bring in to the ecosystem. And that's where your journey of an innovation starts. And that is what I would request everyone, that these are in this current times, this is the sort of a challenge that we are into, that we are sitting in a closed door, we are sitting right behind the screens, and we don't know exactly what all to do. We never thought of that we would get into such certain kind of scenarios. And that is where I would like each one to really go inside. Your mental strength is most important at this particular moment. Your strength in a way that how would you really open up your mind? How would you really open up and look at the world around you and see what are those innovations that could be really taken up. We have seen that, I'm sure you would have seen in WhatsApps as well, that people in rural India, or people that don't have Wi-Fi connectivity, they are trying out ways out through which they can really access the internet. Why can't we really, as Indians, come out with more solutions wherein the current challenges are being solved? We have seen IIT Bombay coming out with a nitrogen based, through which you can really produce oxygen. I mean, that these are the times that in wherein you would really need to open up your mind. You would really need to look at what are those things that you really need to work around as an innovator. And that is where I would love and request everyone to look inside you, because that's where you would find those ideas. You would find it within you. You would find it within the challenging situations around you, and you can really find out those specific details in the best possible manner. Let me just give an example. I had a student who came to me in 2013-14, a commerce graduate student, and he said that, sir, I've got a great idea. And the reason again, the idea was very close to his heart, because his friend coming from an underprivileged background, and this is what he saw within his particular community, that there were kids that did not have even money to buy chappals. They were barefooted. I mean, in a way that it was such a pathetic kind of a situation for everyone in that particular locality or community, that they didn't have even slippers, they didn't have money to buy slippers. And then this is where the student came in. He's a marathon runner. And he said that, I've got a wonderful idea of recycling of shoes. And I said, hey, I mean, I've seen a lot of such kind of solutions wherein you recycle shoes. He said, this is not about the recycling of shoes, but recycling of the soul within the shoes. So if you would see, there are a lot of marathon runners, the joggers, right, that would buy shoes that are of expensive these are almost costing close to 3,000 to 5,000 if you would go to the best of the brands in the world. I mean, Nike, Puma, you would find each of the shoes costing you, pair of shoes costing you almost 4,000 to 5,000 rupees. And these are all well-to-do from well-to-do families. And what really happens after 2 to 3 years is they discard the shoes. But have you realized that the shoes, the outer layer gets affected, but the sole of those shoes are intact? And this is where this idea came in from a student, a 19-year-old kid. And he said that, being a marathon runner, I know that I discard the shoes after 2 to 3 years, but the sole remains intact. And that is where we have come out with a machine through which we can cut this sole and make it into chappals. And this is where I thought that, wow, amazing idea. And I said, what is it that you have got? He said, I've got, sir, only two things. One is this particular idea wherein I can manufacture it this. And second is intellectual property, IP. So he had a certificate, a provisional patent being filed of that. And I said, what else? He said, I've got a passion. I'm sure that I would really make this happen. And we gave him a stall at Entrepreneurship Development Institute at Ahmedabad. That's the journey I'm talking about at 2013. And 2021, after 8 years, if you would search, this is Green Soul, GREENSOLE. If you would search that, that's the social enterprise I am talking about. So idea can come from anywhere. Innovation can come from anywhere. I mean, if at all, if you can really know exactly how to solve problems, and also very important for everyone to understand, mind you, please, this is the most interesting element of innovation and entrepreneurship, is what would really help you in this journey is not just you as an individual, but people around you. Because at the beginning, there might be people saying that, hey, I don't really believe in you, or I don't think so that you can really make this solution work. But that is where you really need to persist and ensure that you can move to the next level in your journey with the help of your family, friends, and also the community around you. Because if you have come out with a solution which is more relatable, I always say that entrepreneurship and innovation starts off with a lot of assumptions, and what really works out later on is how do you ensure that these assumptions are really converted into reality. 80 to 90% of the times your journey into innovation and entrepreneurship is all about assumptions, because you don't know exactly what's there on ground, you don't know exactly what all resources that you would get, and you may have certain things in your mind, but then quickly you move on to the ground, you move on to talking to people, you move on to talking to your competitors, customers, and then that's where you realize that what you had in mind was just an idea or an innovation. And then to make that as a reality, you really need to work on ground and make those things happen. So that's the kind of journey that I've seen of a lot of entrepreneurs, student entrepreneurs, innovators, that they really like to work on particular ideas, they really like to work on particular problems, but finally at the end of the day, the speed with which you really execute those ideas is what is going to make the difference. Because the challenge I've seen with students or even adults or even with industry professionals is they feel that what would happen if I fail? That's the second element that I want to really talk about in our education system. What we really talk about is marks, right? I mean, we always say grades, these are most important things. Yes, but innovation is entrepreneurship is not only about grades, or it's not only about marks. It's also about the options that you can really find out. So if you would see, I always relate this to an example that when you really get your grades, I'm sure the first reaction that would come in if you have got, say, 90 grades, 90 marks on 100, you would go back to your family, friends, and then the first question that would come in their mind is, "Hey, wonderful, you have scored 90. That's so awesome." And then you would start thinking, and you yourself would start thinking about where is it that you are lacking that 10 marks, right? I mean, everyone's going to ask you about that. Where have you lost that 10 marks? But if you would go to an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur is going to really look at it in a different way. What the entrepreneur is going to look at it is, hey, you have scored 90. Now, how would you really make this 100 with the help of others? What that really means is your entrepreneurship journey starts off mainly with the strengths, not with your weaknesses. So that's where you really need to understand where is it that you have got that 90 and how you can really maximize or how you can really optimize that particular thing and help that would help you in your venture, in your journey as well. So the second element that I would like everyone to know about is that it's knowing yourself. So your mindset, that's also important, but at the second step in your journey, it's going to be your own self. That what that really means is you really need to know yourself, and the first thing that you really need to know, what we really call it as SWOT analysis, and the first thing that comes in is your strength. So if at all, if you know your strengths well, you can really work further. Otherwise, there are a lot of weaknesses around, and mind you, in your journey, you may find someone as a complementary skill sets and they can cover up your weaknesses as well. So the second thing, first is your mind, work on your mind. The second thing is your strengths. You should know your strengths. It's not about giving exams wherein you would find that you lack in certain things. The entrepreneurship and the innovation or your life is always about how do you identify your strengths and how do you work upon it and make it real to the others so that they can appreciate your strengths and be with you. Because unless you don't have a confidence, it's going to be very difficult in this journey. So this is the second element to your journey, which is about your strengths that you really need to understand. What I saw in that student was that confidence. What I saw was he knows exactly what he has really done. And that is what, as a student or as an entrepreneur, as a budding entrepreneur, you really need to work on those things and really make yourself a successful, I wouldn't say successful, let me tell you, I mean, that's a very relative uh, term. It's not about success or failure. It's about ensuring that your assumptions or your ideas or your passion turns into reality. And these are the main two elements of your or stepping stone for your entrepreneurial journey. I would love to share one more particular example out here is about the traits of entrepreneurs. And these are the times wherein I've seen that if at all, if you are not mentally strong, if at all, if you are not physically strong, if at all, if you would see everything as a failure, the mindset, and also if you would see that, hey, this is not going to work around, if you have those negative sort of emotions coming through, and I'm sure at this times a lot of people are in that sort of a rut, right? That hey, I don't think so it's going to work around, I don't have options. Let me tell you, whenever if you are in such a kind of situation and whenever you feel that it's going to be very difficult for you to continue in the journey, there are three P's or traits of entrepreneurs, and these three P's are persistence, patience, and passion. So, if at all, if you would really work on this, and this is where entrepreneurs are different than any other breeds. I always say this, that entrepreneurs will always work on three P's, that is, persistence, patience, and their passion. They really believe in themselves, and they really know that what they are working on, that's going to change the scenario. You are going to challenge the status quo, and you are going to challenge that you have to change this particular entire world. And let me tell you how you can do it is either through your strong belief, either through your technological skill sets, either through your great problem solving. And mind you, problem solving is not just technology. Problem solving could be around solutions through which, and I've seen a lot of, I know there are a lot of examples, right? So the Flipkarts and the Amazons and the great technology companies, e-commerce guys, if you would see, all the founders are not coders, right? I mean, they just came up with great solutions, and they found the team within the entire their ecosystem, and they really joined the team and then helped building those solutions. So my point out here is not every time it's the technology or even coding, because at times I've seen lot of technology, because it's an engineering campus. So what really happens is you are so in love with your technology and product that you feel that there is no other kind of solution around you. Mind you, there are others working around that. So it's not about the technology, it's about how do you commercialize or how do you ensure that it reaches out to the right set of people. And that's where the most important part of your journey at the beginning is what I really call it as, and this is the third element or the third kind of step that you really need to understand when you start off your journey, is about purpose. Please understand, and that could be even applied to faculty members, the parents, and the teachers out there. If you can find your purpose, then the journey becomes much more easier, the journey becomes much more simpler for you, and the journey becomes much more purposeful in a way that you would be persistent to what you really want to do. And how do you find the purpose? You really find the purpose once you identify a problem, or you are working on a solution and you feel that you can relate to it. And with that, you would get the mission as well as the vision of your organization. And from there, you would find the real purpose. And that purpose becomes the purpose of your life. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs out there. Really, if you would talk to them, you would understand that that's the purpose of their life. And these are, you would find it mainly in the social enterprises, in the enterprises that are solving a lot of problems. And for them, the end goal or the end result is not just the money. It's about bringing in that change. And that is what I would request everyone, that please, whatever activities that you do, whatever things that you do in your life, you need to find purpose. If you would find a passionate teacher, if you find a passionate faculty, you would understand that the purpose of their life is to have those transformations. And if at all, if you can really create those transformations, and mind you, it's not that easy. It's very difficult to find the purpose. I've seen people at the age of 20 finding a purpose. I've seen students at the age of even 14, 15 finding a purpose of their life. And I've seen people at the age of 55, 60 as well, not finding the purpose of their life and just going through the routine. The reason being, they really want to stick to a particular template. Entrepreneurship and innovation is not about fixing yourself to a particular template. It's going out of the box, and that is where you would find the purpose of your life. And these are the times at this moment, everyone, that in this challenging times, we have been restricted to so many things. If at all, if you can open up your mind and if you really want to find the purpose, please, this is the best time of your life to find the purpose. The reason being, you have all the time of your life, you have all the people around you, the right people around you. That's your family, friends, that you are talking to, that you are staying with, and that is what is going to help you to find the purpose. So make the most of this particular time, this challenging time, to find the purpose of your life. And if you find it, then I'm sure you would work upon this. But for that, what you really need to do is come out of the routine. What you really need to do is identify challenges, problems, and how can you be a part of those solutions around those problems. Take certain voluntary kind of work as well. This is something that I always advise students, that it's not just about education, it's not just about your subjects, it's not just about what's there in your curriculum. You need to go beyond your curriculum as well. That's where a lot of colleges, they emphasize on the extracurricular. Out here today, we saw the wonderful video through which students were showcasing their dancing skills, your singing. I mean, this is where you really need to, and entrepreneurs will always have those hobbies as well, which are kind of, I mean, that hobbies could be even purposeful sort of hobbies. Those hobbies could be something wherein you can relate more to the people. And it's not just about sticking to the business part of it. So mind you, this is all about kind of going out of the comfort zone and ensuring that you work with everyone in a way that they can relate to you. And these are the most important things I would love each and everyone to know, that it's going beyond your comfort zone and ensuring that you really contribute as a person. And this journey would start off with you. Let me tell you, it's an individual that starts off. What we really call certain social enterprises, founders are, we call them as change makers, right? So you could be that next change maker. What you really need to really understand, it's not just YouTube motivational videos, or it's not just kind of social media through which you would listen to certain stories or read certain stories. You really need to execute and act upon those things, and that you have to do it yourself. Nobody else would be able to, or nobody else would be doing it for you. Because, and this is where entrepreneurship is all about, it's all experiential. You really need to experience it yourself. And then at times I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs really going through a difficult phase, and that's going to be for everyone. We don't want to really be a part of difficult situations. If you would see any entrepreneur, I mean, they would have gone through different phases of life. The most successful entrepreneurs as well, what they really do is go through the most challenging times and they come out as winners. And I always say this, that it's not about kind of how how do you really react to the situations. It's more about how do you prepare in those situations, prepare well, and prepare in a fashion that you are adaptable and flexible, and then come out as a winner. I think that is the most important part in your journey. And these are the softer elements of entrepreneurship that you really need to. You really need to be disciplined. You really need to understand that people around you, how do you really contribute in their life as well. There are a lot of myths I've seen. There are a lot of at times I've asked students that why do you want to be an entrepreneur, or why do you want to take up an innovative project, and most of the times they say that this is what I see as a challenge, and this is what I see as a problem, and this is more of assumptions that they have in the mind. But when I ask them how would you execute now, that's where they say that, hey, I'll find someone who's gonna fund this project. I'll find someone who would help me out. Startup or entrepreneurship is all about starting from zero, starting from scratch. And that is where you really need to understand that if at all, if you have the skills to really move from level zero to level zero plus one in the most effective, resourceful way. And that's where there are two particular aspects of entrepreneurship, what I call it as people management and resource management, in a way that with the minimum resources, as I said earlier, if you can optimize that and work on this, because every time as an entrepreneur, the challenge is going to be the resource around you. And when I say resource, that could be money. When I say resource, that could be facilities. If at all, if you can really work upon this, that's the best way for you with minimum resources. And that's where the innovation would come in, is the minimum resources with which you can operate on. And the second part is people management. This is the most important element of your innovation and entrepreneurial journey. It's not just you as an individual. You would have a purpose. You need to find more and more people that can align with your purpose. And this is the most important thing that you really need to understand as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, that it's not just about you, it's about people around you, and how do you manage those people and resources around you. So these are the few tips or tricks that I really wanted to give everyone, that please understand that come out of your comfort zone, be more experimental. Very, very important for students community to know that irrespective of the age, there could be anyone working on it. Let me tell you now, let me give you examples. If you would see now the retail industry, if you would see the travel industry, if you would see now currently the challenges that are being there in sales jobs, because at this particular moment with social distancing, with lockdowns, and I don't know how long this is going to continue. I really don't know the event management companies. There is going to be a lot of disruption that is going to be required in each of the industries as well. The industries that I would really now focus upon is agriculture or agri-tech. You really need to go back and see exactly how you can, because now your lifestyle is going to be all about healthy food, right? Organic food. It's about different aspects through which you can really contribute to the agricultural commodities as well. So agriculture, that's one of the industry that you really need to look at, or agri-tech. You really need to look at education. Let me give an example. I mean, I'm always a firm believer of homeschooling, right? Most important part of it, if you would see, the degrees, the diplomas are important, but at the same point of time, if at all, how about an industry? And these are conventional methods as well of Gurukul style of learning. If at all, if you can work on an industry and then come out with disruptive solutions or solutions around homeschooling, solutions wherein train the trainers, the parents can themselves become teachers, and social networking, I mean, through which you can learn from each other, what I call it as peer learning. These are the certain aspects through which education would find disruption. The third part is all about remote work locations. If at all, if you can come up with solutions that will really help. How about setting up BPOs in rural areas? You have a great opportunities in rural areas. There are BPOs, KPOs that are being there, and Tamil Nadu. I've seen a lot of call centers, BPOs, and KPOs. But there is a huge possibility that not just in the metros, but in the smaller tier 3, tier 4 towns as well. If you can look at the potential of the students, of the community around you, and let me tell you, there is going to be reverse migration as well. What that really means is people are going to go back to their hometowns. You would find a raw talent over there now. You would find a talent that were there in the metros moving to their original kind of cities where their family is. If at all, I mean, just give you an example. That's a Zoho founder. I'm sure you would know about the founder of Zoho Corporation going back to his hometown, having schools. I mean, that's the entrepreneurial mindset I'm really talking about. That's what you really need to work upon. If you can change one particular life, I think that's what you really need to do. And that's what I really call it as transformational stories, right? You really need to be a part of that transformation. And how do you really create those transformations? Is either first is transform yourself. Second, find out people around you and the ways through which you can transform others' life. And that is where innovation and entrepreneurship is going to help you in creating those transformational stories. Please understand that this is the most difficult part, most difficult times, but that is where you really need to know your strengths. You need to identify yourself. What is it that you are made up of? And let me tell you, not everyone can be an entrepreneur. You need to have a tough mindset. I mean, a kind of a mindset which is you need to be mentally very strong out there. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs going through tough times, and when I ask them what really motivates you, and they say we have seen certain times in a which that those were the worst of those conditions, and the only thing that comes to their mind is it can't be worse than this, right? Let me try this one more time. And that is where I feel that that's the attitude that you really need to have. That you need to know the worst of the situations, and you need to really go at the bottom, and then that's where you would rise from ashes. And that's what really very important for you to understand, that why don't we see many entrepreneurs coming out? Because they have the fear of failure. If you have the fear of failure, then I don't think so this is made for you. And this is all about kind of having more and more failures and accepting those failures and working upon it, not repeating your mistakes. The more you do that, the more successful you would be. And the last but the most important part out here that I would love everyone to understand is it's not just about running a business. Mind you, when you become an entrepreneur, the first top two things that comes to your mind is one, money. That's perfectly fine. Second, I want to solve a problem. But once you would go through the journey, after a few years, 2 to 3 years, 5 years, you would realize that what you are doing is way beyond these two things of generating profits or solving a problem. What you are really then working upon is team. So your business is no longer you as an individual, or business is no longer you as a founder. This is more around your team, because you really need to pay salaries. So it's giving salary to one person is as good as you are helping that particular person indirectly by way of giving salary, and that person is running his or her family. There are 3 to 4 members. So there is a sustainability in a way that you are providing to your employees. So it's more about just the money for you. It's money for the people as well. So what we really call it as creating wealth. Entrepreneurs always create wealth. Entrepreneurs, so you are not a business person, you are an entrepreneur creating wealth for others. That is what the first thing that you really need to keep in mind. The second thing that you really need to understand, and that's what you would realize, that more and more you would start working on your with your company, with your employees. It's not just about solving a problem, but also contributing to the society. So you would really take up certain causes, you would really take up certain things that may help people around you, and that would really help to transform the not just the people but the communities as well. I always say that you really need to take up you really need to be a volunteer. You really need to take up voluntarily certain activities through which you can learn. There are a lot of NGOs or there are a lot of CSOs that you really need to work upon. And from there, you would find that by becoming a volunteer, that what all activities that they are doing, and if you would start working on ground, you would see that there are a lot of communities that that are really sort of lacking the basic needs, and that is where you would open up your mind and then come out with different possibilities. So over a period of time, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs not just working for money but becoming a part of a huge movement, and that is where you may find the purpose of your life as well. And mind you, it's not just entrepreneur, there are a lot of industrialists, there are a lot of employees in an organization as well, that when they move to leadership position, they are mandatorily asked to work with communities, they are mandatorily asked to work with CSOs and NGOs. The reason being, the employer wants them to really think in that particular direction, and with that particular direction, what they would get is the real problems that they can identify and come out with solutions and work on it effectively on their own. So that is what I really want everyone to understand, that entrepreneurship is not just about money and what we really call it as for profit or not for profit enterprises. I have seen a lot of students at the very young age, 16, 17, 20, 22, that they work upon certain ideas or problems that are global. I would love to give tips to everyone. Is sustainable development goals. There are UN SDGs, United Nations 17 sustainable goals. If you would go through that, I am sure you would come up with wonderful solutions, and you can align those solutions to those sustainable development goals, and you would realize that what you are making a difference, it's not just to the local community but is to the world around. So that's my humble request, that please don't take up entrepreneurship just for the sake of money. On over a period of time, you would realize that it's not just about money, so it's not just about funding as well. And over there, one most important part is that I always say that successful entrepreneurs, or success, that's a relative term for any entrepreneur. Profit is one part of it. The other part of it is, if you would see a lot of entrepreneurs, they get really motivated when they see smile on the face of their employees, their customers, and that is what I believe is success all about. If at the end of the day, if you can bring that smile to one of your stakeholders, I think you would be a successful person, an entrepreneur, or an innovator. So this is what I just wanted everyone to really understand, and then really understand the basics of innovation and entrepreneurship, the softer elements of it. And with students, I always share the mantras, and with that, we'll move on to the question and answer. Just last 3 minutes is the philosophy that I have really believed in, and what I really call this as explore, experiment, and experiential. What that really means is you really need to explore the life. What that really means is simply it's exploring yourself. Whenever I go to campuses, I always ask that you have residential students or you have students from your locality and nearby. I mean, if at all, if it's a residential course wherein students stay in hostels, I really love to interact with such students. because they are not dependent on their family for basic things like even food and accommodation and all those stuff. They live in hostels, and when you live in hostels, what really happens is you know the world better, you explore the world better. So explore it, experiment certain things. The Olas, if you would see, or the best of the entrepreneurs or organizations coming from IITs and IIMs. And the beauty of those institutions is the alumni, and at the same point of time, um, the friendship that they make, and also very important is their lifestyle, right? In that 4 years or 5 years stint within the institution, is they explore a lot. They have a lot of the time in their hand to identify themselves and know their strengths. If you would see Ola, Bhavnish Agarwal. So Ola wasn't kind of, I mean, Bhavnish himself drove the vehicle, was the driver at the beginning of his journey at Ola. I mean, amazing, right? I mean, that is where minimum resources, but the right mindset and wanting to do something different. So Uber was already there in the world, but then Ola could create its own kind of a presence. And now they are really talking about green energy, and then on the electric vehicles part of it. The reason being is the mindset. You really need to explore and experiment, and that's where it's your individual perspective, your own journey as a person, and you really need to experience those things. Unless you experiment, it's not something, others are not going to give you that gyan or knowledge around it. Entrepreneurship is all hands on. Entrepreneurship is all your own experiences. More and more you fail, you really need to know that what are the ways or what are the workarounds around it. And that's where you would learn the most. Out there in entrepreneurial journey, it's not going to be that you are going to get grades. What you are going to get is experiences. Whether that's good or bad, you really need to evaluate and move further. But unless you explore, unless you experiment, unless you experience those things, the entrepreneurial journey is going to be very difficult, because you are the one taking up that journey with you. So if you have a small project and you are doing coding or something, I mean, don't just restrict yourself to coding or making the best of the product. And that's the last tip that I would love to give everyone. It's not about having the best of the product or the perfect product or 100% product. Entrepreneurship is all about, or innovation, when you do that, launch it in the market as quickly as possible and get customer feedback, what we really call it as minimum viable products. Because there is nothing as a perfect product that has come in, there is nothing as a perfect solution that has come in. Entrepreneurs, most of the times, are not perfectionist, which is also good in a way that if you are perfectionist, what would happen is you would take a lot of time, and then by that time, that problem might not exist as well. It's most important to get feedback from your stakeholders, and that is where your innovation and entrepreneurship will evolve. It's not just your perspective. As I said at the beginning, how quickly you turn your assumptions into reality is where you would really understand. And let me tell you, if at all, if you get into this space and get into this space as quickly as possible through different solutions, through different ventures, this is something that will be there with you for lifetime. There are companies that are looking out for entrepreneurs. There are companies, so you are building the skill sets for you, and it's not just for others. So please understand that you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to train your mind. You have to know yourself, your strengths, and then understand your softer elements and venture into entrepreneurship or innovative projects. And the parents and the faculty members out there, very, very important in this challenging times. Take up opportunities with NGOs, CSOs, with communities around you. Help them. More and more you contribute, you would understand the purpose of your life. And also very important, our life is not just for making that salary or doing that routines. Our life is for helping others as well, or contribute to the society. And that's where innovators and entrepreneurs, they do a tremendous job in the growth of the country. And that is what you really need to look at it. So with that, just want to end my speech. Thank you so much. And I hope by this, if at all, if you are motivated towards innovation and entrepreneurship, we are an incubator that is supported by Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog. And we have wonderful entrepreneurs with us that are working on some interesting ideas as well. That's aic-rmp.org. We have just launched cohort 3 application. So if you have great ideas, if you are working on real solutions, we look out to support each one of the entrepreneurs, and you can apply for that as well. So with that, Madhuri, I really appreciate time, and really think that our country would be a great country with the help of innovators and entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I request the participants to post your queries in the comment box. And we have few queries from our participants, sir. Mostly every idea that sounds or seems like a good entrepreneurial idea is mostly one that has a social cost. Is it because only social problems have, or is it the level that can be solved by a student or someone with less skills?
Uh, Very interesting question. So maybe you could repeat the second part of it. I would love to kind of give a very specific insights to that. Maybe you could repeat the question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Mostly every idea that sounds or seems like a good entrepreneurial idea is mostly one that has a social cost. Is it because only social problems have, or is it the level that can be solved by a student or someone with less skills?
Wonderful. So again, I mean, I always say that skills, that's something that can be developed over a period of time, right? I mean, again, out there, it's not about experience, it's about how you are able to relate to that problem. And that would come in with experience, not through the skills. So very important out here, and that's a very interesting element. If you would see any business, it's all about society, it's all about social element to it. Even the best of the companies that are making profits, there is some emotional connect to those particular businesses. And that's where people more and more going for that. And it's all about sustainable businesses as well. So my answer to this is, it's not about the skills, it's more about the experience and the relatability to that problem. If at all, if you can connect yourself and can take it up, you would find people with those skills that can help you over a period of time. So as simple as I said, I mean, not all best of the startups that you see that are being funded, the founders didn't have the skills of coding or didn't have that particular part. What they really understood was the real problem or what the society is going through, or something what I really call it as a cause. And most important part out there is how you look at a problem and how you articulate that particular problem into a solution and can address it to the bigger crowd around you. And that is where the experience would come in. More and more you talk to your stakeholders and what we really call it as pain points. More and more you know the pain points, more and more you know the solutions. The skills is just one element to it that would help you in solving those things. But it's more about how many of those pain areas that you know and with what passion you want to really solve it. You would find the ways around it. So it's very simple after that.
Thank you, sir. The next is, are entrepreneurs born or made?
It's a debatable thing. I always say that there are few entrepreneurs that are kind of born, that are naturally sort of inclined. So the examples that we have are the Steve Jobs and Dhirubhai Ambani's kind of in the world. But not everyone could be an entrepreneur. They could be made as well. And when I say that made, these are through the entrepreneurial mindset, these are through the softer elements, and these are through realizing their potentials, there are a lot of people who don't know exactly their potential. There are people that are happy with in their comfort zone, but then when they come out of it, they do wonders. And there are certain basic elements or theory of businesses that not everyone is aware of. So it's important because most of the smart entrepreneurs or business person like or business people like Dhirubhai Ambani or Steve Jobs, innovators like Steve Jobs, they all learned it on the job. They all learned it on their way in their journey, and these are the things that you can pick it up. So you can really make entrepreneurs or create entrepreneurs as well if you imbibe those skill sets and if you give them those set of right attitude and positive mindset. So yes, there are few that are naturally sort of inclined towards entrepreneurship, are born entrepreneurs, but our job as a society is to ensure that we create entrepreneurs as well.
Thank you, sir. And we have one more question. How to generate the new ideas and overcome the fear, and how and what will I tell my customer that when I do this?
How and when customers, what was the question?
How and what will I tell my customer that when I do, and how to generate new ideas and overcome the fear?
Okay. So it's I think in three parts. Let me just address it in three parts. How do you generate ideas? That's first question. The second question is more about how do you overcome fear of failure. And the third part is the customer interaction part of it. How do you really go confidently and then say that? How do you generate ideas? Read more. We do a lot of activities to generate ideas, and these are as simple as newspaper, journals, magazines, real case studies, identify or even observe. I always say innovation is all about observing things in and around you. Go to a community, particular community, you would find a lot of problems around over there as well. Or even when you go to a classroom, or even when you are sitting right behind the screen at this moment, a particular idea can struck you, right? That these are the challenging times. So it's all about, or even YouTube videos and lot of information through which you gather and you generate great ideas. But the most important part is not generating ideas, is validating ideas. And how do you validate is really go on the ground and try talking to people, and then that's where you would really find and validate the best of the idea and work on that idea. So it's not about finding the right idea, it's about executing the idea. So that's one element of idea generation. How do you overcome fear of failure? I always say we don't try. And why we don't try is the fear of failure. So the first step to overcoming fear of failure is take up something wherein you know that you are going to fail in that particular thing. But that is just experiment, and make keep your mindset very clear in that particular attempt, that through that failure you are going to learn. Most of the times when we say fail and then we stop that particular thing, the reason again our academic mindset, or maybe not academic mindset, but the way we are trained as individuals, right? Over a period of time in our family as well, that don't do this particular thing because you haven't got good grades. Don't do, and then you stop doing those things. I would say that life is all about failure. So take up things that you are sure of that you are going to fail, and you would see that those transformation happening within you. More and more you fail, you are making yourself more adaptive to or going towards the success part of it. So take up things wherein you are sure of that you are going to fail, and come out of the comfort zone. That's where you would be. And mind you, it's not about people around you, it's about you as an individual. So our community, our Indian particular mindset is made more towards what others would say. It's not about what others would say. Your life is yours, right? So at the end of the day, even if you are a failure, but you know exactly how you have improved, that is how you would overcome a failure. And the third part is customer interaction part of it. And how would you ensure? It's all about two things: articulation, and the second part is all about relating to that particular customer and listening to them. Most important, that is where we miss out, is we always want to say that this is what we are trying to solve. We don't want to listen to others, that what is it that they want us to solve. So the customer part of it is what we call it is empathy, the listening skills, and the third and the most important element in customer interaction is, if at all, if you can keep your shoe, if you can talk in their language, articulation, then I believe that your journey becomes pretty simple. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we have one more question. What is the first thought about being an entrepreneur?
What is the
First thought about being an entrepreneur.
first thought?
First thought.
So you mean to say what is it that an entrepreneur should really be taught?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is it that the first thing that entrepreneurship should be in entrepreneurship? I always say that it's all about purpose. Whenever you start your journey, if your purpose is clear, it's not about money, it's not about outcomes, it's more about impact, and it's about purpose. So if at all, if you can figure out those things through whatever things that you are doing, I mean, it could be as small as coming out with an app. But at the end of the day, it's all about purpose. So if at all, an entrepreneur should be taught more about purpose of life and self, what we really call it is introspection. These are the main things for an entrepreneur, and these are the softer elements, which I believe that most of the times Indians don't really, because we don't have a cushion around us. In US or in outside world, at the age of 15 and 16, you would find teenagers and kids starting their business or having a cushion around them. What we have in India is still, you are 23, 24, you are still dependent on your parents' salary and the pocket money. I think that is what needs to be taught to the entrepreneurs, that it's all about you. It's all about you as a person, and then making that change in the society.
Of course, sir. And one more, sir. Is an incubator the best solution for startup to get funding?
No. Wonderful question. Not the incubation, not always. It depends. Why do you want? So I always say most of the times what really happens is entrepreneurs reach out to incubators, but then and then they wait for the results, right? Whether incubator has really selected the startup or not. I think it should be other way around. The entrepreneurs should really do more research around incubator and then see exactly is there any alignment in the way that incubator is working, their value adds. We have seen a lot of entrepreneurs being successful without the help of incubators as well. So incubators mainly provide you sort of credibility. What they provide you is network, peer learning, growth, validation, pilot opportunities, bit of funding as well. But again, if at all, if you are confident and successful of having your journey without these elements, and you have all the credibility, you have all the validation, and simply you can grow on your own or through acceleration or through other networks or real stakeholders beyond incubators, then again, you don't have to every time look at incubator as the only source for your growth in your startup. And I'm being very candid. Coming from an incubator, again, I mean, people might have expected that I would say that, hey, everyone should reach out to incubators. I always say that no, incubator, that's not for every entrepreneurs, and not every incubator needs entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for answering all our queries. We are really thankful to you for taking the time out of your busy schedule for being here with us. And thank you for sharing much information, sir. Now, I welcome our Dean of Academics, Dr. Shalisha A. Standanam, to propose vote of thanks.
Sir, on behalf of Jeppiaar Engineering faculty and students, and on behalf of myself, I'm extremely happy and honored to propose the vote of thanks. Sir, your speech on importance of innovation, entrepreneurship during these challenging times motivated us a lot, especially the way you opened up our minds to look for ways to think when nothing seems promising. Thank you for teaching us to look within us, sir. That's very interesting, and to count on our strengths. Most importantly, the takeaway message for us explore, experiment, and experience is quite encouraging. Sir, once again, on behalf of our Chairman and Managing Director, Dr. M. Regina Jeppiaar, Principal Sir Dr. V. Natarajan, heads of various departments, faculty members, and beloved students, I extend our grateful thankfulness for your valuable time, knowledge sharing, and highly motivational and definitely a powerful talk for us, sir. Thank you once again. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
My
sir.
pleasure. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request all the participants to fill the feedback form provided in the comment box. It will be kept open only for 15 minutes, so kindly do fill it. Further, I'm glad to invite you all for the next JPR Power Talk series, a webinar on turn obstacles into opportunities by Mr. Shayan Prasad Rajasekharan, co-founder and chief operation at Westwood Agritech Private Limited on 28 May, Friday between 10 to 12 noon. The event registration link is posted in the comment box. Kindly to register for this event and join the session. Last but not the least, let's end the session with the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you, sir. I thank all the participants for being patient till the end of this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sudhir sir. Thank you.